you're listening to Julie Taylor, and this is Julie and Company. Today, my guest is Francis Gendron, and he's here to tell us about his business Solution Era, which stands for Ecological, Resilient, and Abundant. He is the founder also of the project called Oasis Eastman. So, Francis, hi.
Hi.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
Francis, I heard of your project and I assisted to the intro to the certificate. It just blew my mind. You know, I'm a designer, that's one thing, and I know quite a few things, but by sitting on that class, I realized how little I know when it comes to integrating nature and the forces of nature if I want to build a home and integrate more values and more value in what I'll be building.
Yeah.
So
wow, that's well said, actually. I like that.
How did you come about the idea? Or tell me a bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, so I'm almost from the region, and not too far. I was born in Quetzcook. And after a great childhood, I would say,
yes.
I went to study in Gaspé, adventure tourism. So that's the thing that really connected me to nature. I had the privilege to go for a 30-day expedition up north and really be with nature and starting to really love it. And at the same time, those were the years that everybody was starting to talk about climate change and the problems that we have around the environment.
Yes.
And so it triggered like a very strong interest into eco homes and alternative housings and things like that. But it wasn't my background. I had no experience building or anything like that. So I went to study in the United States, in Taos, New Mexico for a little bit.
And tell me about that.
Yeah, so that was a very great experience. I went to, it's a place called Earthship Academy. And that's a place where they've been building eco homes for about, now it's like since the 70s. So it's been 55 years or something like that.
Yeah, well, there was a leader to this.
Yeah, Michael Reynolds.
Right,
Michael
an inspired person to build from recycled materials.
That's right.
In the desert, obviously a whole different climate from Canada and Montreal or region.
Yeah.
And community.
Yeah, absolutely. So
because you needed labor and you joined them free labor?
I went there for 4 months in total, where it was half like theoretical classes, like to learn.
Yeah.
And then the other half, usually the afternoon, we would actually go with them building directly on the ground to see what it's like and stuff like that. And we would live there. So it's really cool because it's a little village that they built around those concepts. So
on my way here, I was thinking, and I ask you, do you think it is the best thing somebody could do is to join a project before they start their project? They don't need to do it every weekend, but if they could sign on to a project where people are building, do you think that experience would prepare you better
Absolutely.
for preparing your project before you put it in action?
Yes, I would say if somebody just wants to be involved in the design and then he would hire people to do it, then it's not as important. But if somebody wants to be involved like in the actual building, I would strongly suggest to go try help other people before that.
Yeah.
And there's a big, especially when people build natural homes like hemp or straw bales or things like that, it's a real big movement. Like every summer, people will build that and they will offer, like, you can come and help us for a few days. You'll learn it at the same time and just see what it's like.
Let's pause here for a minute.
Yeah.
What would be the advantage of building with bales of hay or chanvre,
Hemp.
for example, hemp? What advantage ecologically would that mean?
Yeah.
And would one need to check with the law of their municipality if it's allowed?
So straw bale was exceptional, like ecologically, because it was seen, bales were often seen like a déchet.
Garbage or?
It wasn't being used for much at one point. And it wasn't valued either. So you could build a home for much cheaper many years ago. There's a place in Quebec called the Grebe, close to Jonquière.
Yeah.
And there they've built a whole village with homes like that. So there's a way to do it well, of course.
Is that how our ancestors used to build?
I know in Europe, they've been doing that for a very long time. Here, like in the old days, the crazy thing is they weren't insulated. The homes, they were not very insulated. So I don't think they knew about this technique, but it's been a while that they do it. But nowadays, hemp has been taking the stage because there's many ways to build with hemp now. And it's just a very useful thing if you want to reduce the impact, like the carbon footprint of your home. There's almost nothing that will do it as well as hemp. It's easy to grow. They can do it organically. They can grow it here in Quebec. They can transform it here in Quebec, and you use it for your home. And so
that would be a really great incentive, but also the cost might have gone up since maybe in the last 10 years, 5 years, so less of an incentive?
Well, it's for the straw bale, it's been going up, so it's not as exceptional. And because hemp is so great, and because also hemp, you can do the artisanal technique, but you can also do like a very regular technique. It's just the wall looks exactly the same, but the insulation inside is hemp. So that's why it makes it very easy. Like it was possible for us to do the Oasis Eastman only with hemp, and it's a commercial project. So usually you can't do the natural way on commercial project because you have to pay people to do it. And so it's too much. Usually you have to be like a bunch of people.
I understand. So you have to hire somebody with a commercial license, and so the cost of labor goes way up.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
but it is possible with hemp nowadays.
Okay.
So that's why I love it so much.
So there's a lot of twists and turns and details to every single choice of building your dream home.
Of course.
As this is a prime example.
Exactly.
Right?
That's one example among many decisions that somebody who wants to get in this project will have to do. And I think that's why it's a big advantage to be well informed before.
Absolutely.
And what I find great nowadays is, you have Google and you have AI and you have many things that you can ask questions. But if you don't know what to ask,
you got to know what you don't know, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think the certificate is a wonderful way of getting clarity on where you need to focus your attention. There's many things to talk about. Maybe we could start by saying you came back from that trip. You had met a community. You're back in Quebec. How did the idea brew?
When I came back, I was like, okay, I really want to share this information with as many people as I could. So I started a YouTube channel, which was the beginning of, I didn't know
what
YouTube.
Year are we in here?
It was 2011. It's a little while back. And then, so we started doing that. And then conferences. I did 100 conferences all over Quebec. And then when I was doing that, people were like, hey, can we have a course about that? And so I said, well, I could give a 1 day or a 2 day, but I don't feel like a professional enough to do more than that. Yeah. So I did the 1 2 day, and then people are like, hey, we want more. And I wanted more, honestly. Yeah. So I went and found about 20 of the best experts there is in Quebec on those subjects specifically. So let's say 1 for solar panel and 1 for hemp and 1 for solar design, passive solar design, things like that. Yeah. And brought them all together into one big course over 6 weekends that we call the certificate in design.
Yep.
And then it started, and almost 12 years later, we are now at over 7,000 people who did the course here in France as well. Wow. So it's really exciting.
So it's a larger community even. Yeah. So we're talking about these homes. There are many labels and many opportunity to focus on the type of home you'd want to do, but it's important that you know ahead of time what they are so that you can overlap your values and your vision, because it could be easily in the millions of dollars if you wanted to go all out on,
with
say, an ecological house, a resilient house, an autonomous, sound one.
Yes.
So tell us each category what it represents.
Yeah, so the first one that we hear sometimes is healthy, or you said sound. Yeah, the sound house, which will focus a lot on what's the quality of air. So to making sure there's no COV, which is VOC, I think, in English. And then, so quality of air, quality of the water, and often they'll look into electromagnetic field as well, Wi-Fi and all those things in homes, so that to make sure the home maximize the health
of the individuals living inside.
Absolutely. So that's one big one. Yeah. And then you have the eco home, as we often hear as well. This one is focused on climate change. And so can we create a home and a lifestyle that reduces as much as possible the carbon footprint? So the material, where they come from, and how long they will last. And once they are all together, is the home consuming a lot of energy or little because it's well insulated and things like that? So
and I just want to do a little side note here. How you line up your facade, your windows, even the angles to the sun, to optimize the heat coming in, planting trees in the right spot so that when they have their leaves in the summer, they create shade on the house so the house is cooler. There are fundamental ways that we should even consider aligning and building a house. And I thought those were amazing. And if the sun can hit a thermal mass, then during the day it will absorb the heat, and at night it would radiate out that heat.
That's right.
And always lowering costs of heating and other expenses.
Energy source. Yeah.
Carry on, but I think there's so much to learn.
Yeah, there's so much to learn. And it's crazy, like when you learn that, you're like, how come I didn't know about that, or that people are not concerned about it? But I think people will be concerned about that. Now in Quebec, it's also one of the reasons why we're not concerned about it is we have the cheapest electricity in the world, and it's a pretty clean one. But as we need more and more energy, because we're going to keep needing, and cars are going to electricity and things like that, we're going to need new sources, and hydro won't be as cheap as it used to be, because if
they want to privatize hydro now, and the second that it gets into private, it gets into profit making.
Absolutely.
And then the prices, you can count on them going
up.
Right.
So that's going to be much more interesting to look at passive solar. Passive solar means just windows on the right spot on your house, and active solar, which is solar panel on the roof to create the energy you need as well. So that's one. And then you had the resilient or autonomous home, which the goal of those usually is the fact they want to make sure that if Hydro-Québec or the grid goes down for 1 day or for 5 days or 2 months, they could have a good quality of life anyways. And so with that, you'll have things such as solar panel that gives you energy. Those who are with water, you can either have your own puits, I'm not sure what that
well,
yes,
independent,
a well, absolutely. Or you can collect rainwater, or you can have a cold room, I believe.
A cellar or a cold room, so that you can put your food in case the electricity goes down. And
exactly,
you
so you have it for a while.
Yeah.
And then you can have a greenhouse, if you'd like, attached to the home as well.
And of course, you mentioned, obviously, you can have an independent greenhouse, but there is a way of building a greenhouse that's attached to the house so that you
don't need to go out.
You don't need to go out, but also the impact of that vegetation on the home. Now, you want to manage your humidity, I understand, but it's still a room you can use.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's
to meditate or yoga.
Absolutely. It's just, it becomes your favorite room in the house when it's sunny, and when it's not sunny, you go somewhere else.
Right.
But, so the greenhouse as well. So all those things can add, and now electric car can be a great use, because you can have your electric car be the battery for your home when things are not going so well. So all those things together make your house more and more resilient and autonomous. So those are choices people can make.
Do you think that there's a trend to this since COVID? I think uncertainty permeates our daily lives almost, you know?
Yeah.
And so there's a movement to root ourselves in that which is real, that which is a sure value. And by the same token, with the real estate prices, it's like if the dream seems further and further away. But there are solutions now. When we do look at a project, we also have to consider financing and feasibility and the law.
Absolutely.
And there are some good changes now.
What you said is absolutely true. So I feel like there's more and more interest and a little bit more fear as well, just because the project is harder than it used to be, because the prices has gone up so much that it's not accessible to everybody now. But as you said also, the laws are changing, and one of them is going to help. It's brand new, either last year or at the beginning of this year. Many municipalities have added the name of that.
So accessory home
dwelling
unit.
Accessory home dwelling. I believe that's the real name for it.
AHD.
AHD, that's it. So the fact that you are allowed to take a home that used to be only for one family, and before you were not allowed to change that. It was one family, and it's going to be like that forever. And now they changed that, so now you can have that same home be for two families by transforming either one floor, or you can even have a tiny house in the backyard if that's what you want. So you're just allowed to have two families there. And some places it's three families with the one. So now instead of being alone or just two people to pay for it, you're maybe 3, 4, 5. Say if it's 3 couples, you can have 6 people paying for it. So now it's much easier to do that.
So it opens up access again to property ownership, first homes.
Absolutely.
You go to your municipality, obviously, and you make sure that these things...
You're allowed.
And you may also want to educate yourself on tax structures and how that impacts the property in the future, because these choices we're making, they're medium and long term usually. So we want to be able to have that vision before we break ground.
Yeah.
I think it answers also the social need in an era of technology and screens. there is a backlash and a need now for community, perhaps more than ever. So we go to one big field that the ecological certificate designing your home touches on, and it's your values, your style of living.
Yes.
Like co-living, for example.
Yes.
Do you want to tell me a bit more about it?
Yeah, as you said, I think when you think about your lifestyle, like there's your values about technical aspects. So do I want healthy or resilient or all of them or part of them or all these things? But there's also just the lifestyle. So where do I want to live and with who? Do I want to live alone, or do I like the idea of each person having their own unit, but we're close by, maybe with some friends or family, or
You've had that experience, haven't you?
Yes. So there's that aspect where each have their own complete unit with the UHD, you said? AHD,
yeah.
Yes. And then what we did is co-living, where each person have their own tiny house. So we each have a bathroom and room and a place to work, and then access to outside, also a little balcony.
Independent.
But we share common room, common places, such as one place that we call the Salon Zen, or the Zen living room, infrared sauna, and a place to do yoga and things like that. And we have a music room, ping pong room, and training room. And we have a place where we eat, like the kitchen and dining area, where we had a cook for a very long time, for many years. Right now, we don't have it right now just because everybody is going away. You need some stability to have that. So we don't have it at the moment, but we've had it for many years. And having a cook is not something I could afford usually, but if you're 5, 6, 7, 8 people.
And it might even become advantageous, because if you're pulling your budget for your groceries, you'll get better food, managing and transforming that food.
Exactly. Because like having a cook to myself, I wouldn't never be able to pay for that. But the truth is, when I had the cook, it was costing me equal or less than when I do my own grocery and do my food, because we were a group of people, and so having a lot of advantage as well.
Hi, would you like to be on the show? Do you have any questions or ideas you'd like to share? Go to julietaylor.ca and leave me a message. So it's time to turn everything on its head and reevaluate everything, isn't it?
There's a good opportunity at least. Yes,
absolutely. So there's co-living, bigenerational,
or with AHD. So those options makes it much more accessible and much more fun. And there's, like I said a little bit earlier, but I think it's important to note that you can literally have your real house here and have a second smaller house in the back. So the only thing you're sharing is the land itself. But if you like that idea to have your own house, but you do want to use that strategy, because just land is also very expensive now, so you can have a second home in the back.
A second home, maybe you can't answer this, everybody can go check for themselves. The second home ends up being intentionally a rental property.
Usually, but it could also be, for example, if the parent owned a big house and they want their kids to be not too far and give them the chance to become owner.
But it can't be a separate property.
It wouldn't be like a completely separate property. They would have a percentage on the bigger one. So maybe they own 30%.
Now, I heard you talk about technology. Not just the infrared sauna, which I think is amazing, but there's a move now. We had 3 revolutions. We had the first revolution, and you talk about it during the certificate. From what I understand, Fred is the philosopher who has the words behind this philosophy, and it was so moving for me to hear it. So I'm going to try to fill in the blank, and obviously I'm not getting it straight, but we would be at the dawn of a third revolution, and you'll tell us about it. But I'll go back. The first revolution, the way I integrated it, the idea that originally it was agrarian and there were communities and you would harvest together and do kind of farming, I guess. And when the season was over and the cycle was over, everybody could rest. And regardless of the strata in the economy you sat in, you had your time out. It was winter. Everybody stopped.
And you need to. There's no other way.
Exactly. And then in the second revolution, we're talking about the Industrial Revolution. So it was mechanized. And there were machines. And machines don't get tired and they keep going. And so all of a sudden, there was a shift from nature to mechanization, where you need to feed the machine, then nonstop. So we're a little bit denatured that way, whereas we're no longer in our cycle or humanity. And the machine is for profit. And now we're in a third revolution.
Which is very interesting, because in the second one, it was much easier to centralize everything, right? Big cities, big
factories, because you needed to be around labor forces.
Exactly. So you need all the people there, and each person has a very small task, do this movement every day. So that assembly line with that. And then the third revolution, which is changing everything, and we're living it right now. We're in it since a few years, but there's still much to go with that, is the decentralization of many things. So it started with the fact that...
Thanks to the internet.
Yeah.
And thanks to access to information.
Absolutely. That's what started it, right? So it's a new way of communication,
yes.
of communicating, which is much more accessible to everyone.
It's less to the top where it's centralized and back down. It's more lateral now.
Exactly.
Left and right, broader perspectives.
You can be young, you're living with your parent, and you just have a little garage, and you go on YouTube and you learn amazing things, and you choose to create something new, which was not as possible or as realistic when there was not somebody that didn't have much money, maybe didn't have access to books or to libraries or things like that. So that's one really cool thing with the internet that decentralizes that. But it's also decentralization with energy, where it used to be you have a nuclear plant, or you have a coal
hydroelectric
plant or hydroelectric plant. So it's one big thing controlled either by the government or private companies, and they bring the electricity to each home. While now each home could, we're not there yet. Some places they're much more advanced than we are, but each home could produce their own energy because they have solar panels. So that's decentralizing it all. And then you add to that the 3D printers, which instead of having an industry or like a big factory in China that creates everything and then ship it to the whole world, you can literally, like, I need this object. You go get the model on the internet and you press play on your 3D printer, and it just prints it up. Fred really loves that you met. And so we have a 3D printer at home. And
Is it a toothbrush? Like with the soft bristle?
The one that we have, I don't think could, but for sure you could. There's a more advanced one could easily do that.
See, I've never seen that. I'll have to come over.
They can print very impressive thing. Like now the big one can print, like I know that SpaceX or an astronaut, that they print a lot of pieces for the spaceship in 3D printers. So just to give you everything is possible almost, but it's just we won't each have all of them.
But I see where you're going with this.
But you can do pretty much everything.
Yeah, everybody becomes autonomous, and you're not relying on a control of resources.
Absolutely.
So I remember you did a good case for Airbnb, Uber. All of a sudden, through an application, we could become self-employed.
Exactly. Because it used to be when it was centralized, what was the big one? Like the big companies, it was the biggest company that owns the most hotel, right? That was the bigger company. But now it's the bigger company is the one that connects people to do that. So for example, you
market and demand.
Exactly. So you have a home and I need to live in Knowlton, or I need to go on vacation for Knowlton for a week. You're not there. I can go in your house. And because it's very well controlled in terms of reviews and things, it's super safe. And it makes us use much more each homes or each things that are already there.
And use our resources, again, which is potentially positive impact on the environment.
Absolutely.
Because recycling, it's not just about building a new project. Sometimes identifying a home is a good foundation for where we want to go with it, and renovate it is the best way of being ecological because it's already there.
Absolutely. You buy that. Each time you have to renovate, you do it well, but at least you started with something that's already there. So the better first step.
I think that is such an optimistic message. Sometimes we're mourning a system that is broken and defunct, and yet we're going into a new one, and we're dreaming it and creating it.
And sometimes one needs to die to leave the space for something new to be born, and I think that's what's happening right now.
So instead of being fearful and concerned of uncertainty, let's listen to ourselves and see, what do I need to do for my person to feel safe? Because these are all real things. The fear is not just in our imagination, it's our self speaking to ourself as well. So to listen and to do the moves we need to do to stabilize that and fall back on our creativity thereafter.
Absolutely.
And build this next life.
Nice.
Francis, if we wanted to get a feeling for a project we'd like to do, I understand that we can go to the pavilion of the Oasis Eastman.
Yeah, you just have to go on the Spa Eastman. You go to the website of the Spa Eastman and you can reserve a séjour, like a vacation there, which is really, it's a great place. But if you want, you can live, so your room will be in the Oasis. So you have the privilege to see what it is.
And feel.
Yeah, you can really feel it. So quality material, all ecological. It has all solar panels, so it powers the home, and it has a greenhouse as well. So we can see everything that we talk about and enjoy the spicemen and the meals and all these great things that
in
are there
our
at the same
region.
time.
And
Yeah.
we can reach you through your website.
Absolutely. So solutionera.com and or any other channel, so YouTube, Facebook, etc.
All right, and I'm going to say your name again, Francis Gendron.
Yeah.
Gendron.
Yeah, cool.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much.
It was great seeing you again.
Yeah.
Bye. This catchy, positive, upbeat pop song by Fred Bound at Free Music Archive is licensed CC BY.